update on the state housing policy framework, and this is, as I said, this was something that Governor McDonnell announced pretty quickly after he took office. We were all very excited about that for the first time there was a state effort to look at housing in a holistic and coherent way as a part of state policy. There were 4 areas: affordability and land use, finance, housing regulation, and community services. That was kind of how the original breakdown was. I'm not going to go through all of this in detail, but most recently there's been some focus on regulatory issues and transit-oriented development, mixed use, ADUs. All of that has been a part of the conversation amongst the work group. There's a large work group and a small work group which have continued to meet. If you've gone to the state housing conference, the governor's housing conference every year, usually Bob Sled or someone from the administration has given an update on what's going on with that. There's a foreclosure task force, which is kind of a third group that has continued to work. There's been a homeless group and process which has been kind of separate from the plan, but or separate from the framework, but which has gradually eased in and become a part of the whole thing, and Robin has been working with that. You want to say a word about that?
So as Bob said, as part of the governor's housing policy, there was this specific focus on homelessness, which, for the Virginia Coalition and of course all of the service providers across the state and housing providers, this was really, for us, really the first time that administration had taken such initiative on the level that they did to bring attention to the issue of homelessness and set a goal to actually reduce homelessness in Virginia by 15% by 2013. So we're talking about 1,800 households that need to be permanently housed in order to meet that goal. The Virginia Coalition to End Homelessness has been trying to make an effort to test and see where are we in the progress of meeting this goal. And we'll have some information as early as September. But really, again, we saw this as an unprecedented opportunity to take advantage of focusing on long-term solutions, being permanent support housing, rapid rehousing, to end homelessness it's estimated about 445,000 Virginians experience homelessness every year. So the state plan, again, focused on homelessness, laid out these five goals. And you'll see here there's really, again, an increase on the number of units for permanent support housing, increased flexibility of funding, so not just increased funding for prevention and rapid rehousing, but flexibility. So some of you may be familiar with the private-public partnership that VCH, the National Alliance to End Homelessness, and DHCD are working on together to really help communities target available private funding to retool and continue the great work that HPRP allowed them to do for rapid rehousing. And then, of course, statewide data collection, increasing access to substance abuse and mental health treatment, and then, of course, with this goal for some statewide discharge planning, because we know that individuals and families experiencing homelessness are not just going through the homeless system, they're touching so many different arenas, including hospitals, jails, foster care system, etc. So as far as where we are today, the status of this, the governor just appointed last month a homeless outcomes coordinator. Her name is Pam Kessner. She's actually from Roanoke. She was with the Council of Community Services. We've had the pleasure of working with her. She is not only brilliant, but very dedicated, and we're very pleased to have her as an advocate. So she's really going to be facilitating the group to make sure that we meet these goals that were set out by the plan.
Let me drop back to one thing that I did want to mention, which was disability housing priorities. That's been an important part of the governor's housing policy framework. There is, as a result of the DOG settlement, there's, I forget the total amount, it's 60, 70 million. Very small amount of that is going to housing. I think Shay is working with a group that is among state housing organizations. I think DHCD, VHDA are involved in that, trying to figure out what's a reasonable way for these funds they're targeted for transition for people coming out of institutional settings and coming into the community. A small amount of money is being made available to help with that transition. It's not long-term housing support, but it is something. And as Robin just said, this issue of aging out it's true in foster care programs. It's true and it affects homelessness. It's also true in terms of persons with disabilities who age out of programs that they're in and suddenly need assistance, including housing that's not readily available. So this is a big, important area and is a subject of legislation and legislative thought every year, and it's certainly going to be a part of what issues that will be talked about in this upcoming session. Okay, so we're done. We're not going to talk about federal housing policy. We're not going to talk about the fiscal cliff. You hear enough about that already. So what I said earlier, we'll have a state agenda together within another 60 days or so, less than that, and we'll circulate it out. There'll still be some opportunity for feedback then, and then really can't emphasize it enough. Change happens at the local level. It doesn't happen in Richmond. It happens in the districts, and that's where we need to win hearts and minds. Is with legislators around the state in their home districts. And you all are the people who are the only ones who are able to do that. Robin and I, when we talk to people in Richmond, we're lobbyists or we're people who are representing a particular cause, your constituents. And so there's a huge difference between people who are working like we are at the state level and constituents who can talk to legislators about what's going on in their area and affecting the people who they represent. So strongly encourage you to keep doing that. You've done great work in the past, and hopefully we can support you in continuing to do that work.
Absolutely. So. And we're there to walk alongside with you to strengthen some of those visits, and either in Richmond at the General Assembly or various site visits, things you're doing that you need help bringing attention to. Both our organizations know that those are so effective, and we want to help our legislators always keep the dots connected, so let us know how we can be of help.
Any final thoughts? Thank you all for coming and spending 2 hours, and stay tuned, we'll be in touch. And this, to the extent anything in here you wanted to reference, we'll get this posted up on the Housing Coalition website. We can probably link to it on the Homeless Coalition website as well. Thank you, everybody.